Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. An actual reasonable time for us here in Arizona. We're here because we got some pretty exciting news to end off our evening. Kliff Kingsbury is the new head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, folks. And I've got my brother Aaron. He's at Aaron with 2 A's _, on Twitter. Follow him. He might be a Liverpool fan, but we can't all be perfect.
Except me.
So, but we're here to just break down what is Kliff Kingsbury and the hire, as well as talk about where he can improve upon where Steve Wilks failed the Arizona Cardinals. Because ultimately, Steve Wilks did come in with a little bit of hype, if we really want to get into it, Aaron. I mean, he was kind of looked at as a defensive guru.
He was looked at as a defensive guru in the sense that he had an offense to take over, or a defense to take over, rather, in Carolina that Ron Rivera had built for him. And so he came in with the hype that, he's going to make our defense that good. He had never built a defense.
Mm-hmm.
And so he came in with the wrong reputation, if you want to look at it that way. Kliff Kingsbury, on the other hand, has built offenses.
That is true. That is very true.
He's had the best offenses in college. He had the number 1 offense in 2016. He built that. Steve Wilks never built anything, and I think that's where the Cardinals made a mistake. And I think Steve Wilks made a mistake as well, thinking that he was just going to recreate Carolina in Arizona.
Yeah, well, and in fairness to the Cardinals under Bruce Arians, who we all love, respect, and Bruce Arians is now the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, Bruce Arians built something here that was so rare and so special because, I mean, despite the fact that we had massive amounts of injuries, we still managed to be competitive week in, week out. But I felt like with Steve Wilks, he came in and tried to change the wheel, basically. He came in and tried to change everything BA did. And that ultimately is where his biggest failure was.
But I think that's what the Cardinals wanted him to do. I think the Cardinals wanted something different from Bruce Arians, which is why they went the most boring head coach you could get.
Yeah.
The guy was dry white toast.
Basically.
He was boring. And that's exactly, I think, what they wanted. They were trying to put a staff around him like Mike McCoy. And I said it last year. I was excited at first about the hirings, about Mike McCoy, about Steve Wilks. I thought, okay, maybe this is going to work. And 2-3 games in, I realized that they put lipstick on a pig.
Yeah. Well, but also you think about the preseason, though. I know that the preseason is the preseason, but the Cardinals' defense looked phenomenal in preseason when they were averaging 5 turnovers a game in the preseason.
But I also think it's just that. It's preseason.
Exactly. It is just preseason at the end of the day.
And I think that was – you've heard a lot of stories about Steve Wilks. He was a micromanager, and I think this is before that took over as well. And players wanted to play for him. And they wanted to try hard for him. And then stories were coming out that he was fining guys for wearing tennis shoes with their suit or not tucking their shirts in during practice, that he was taking pictures of guys and showing it on the board and having 3-hour meetings. You can't do that in the NFL today.
Yeah.
These guys are young. That's why Kliff Kingsbury, the Sean McVays, the Kyle Shanahans, they connect with all these young players. They understand you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I think at a certain point the team quit on Steve Wilks, and I don't see that happening with these younger guys because they understand how to connect with the younger players now that you think about it, Kliff Kingsbury, he was the offensive coordinator at Houston from 2009 to 2011. He went to Texas A&M after that from 11 to 2013. Then he went to Texas Tech. So all the guys in the NFL now are guys he coached with or against.
Yeah. Well, and to talk about it real quick, I mean, not that I want to try and blend in, American football and world football, but you think about, to make a comparison, Steve Wilks kind of has an old school mentality, which is actually relatively similar to what Jose Mourinho had at Manchester United. He has an old school mentality. And right now, the modern players, they need that new school mentality of like somebody that is going to come up and, give them a pat on the back and encourage.
You could say Jurgen Klopp.
I mean, but we also now have Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who he's looking like he's doing that.
He looks good. He looks really good, but this is not about
But it's not about
United
that.
and Liverpool. We will get to that a different day.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, but we just to bring that into play, like it's the whole thing of like a new school mentality, and I think that with Kliff Kingsbury, he is going to bring that new school mentality of come in, get the guys all hyped up. I mean, guys, I retweeted it, and you can check it out in the retweets. There is the video of him dancing with his players at Texas Tech, having fun, like. And that's something that I think that the modern player wants is they want to be able to they realize it's a game and they're getting to live a dream in playing a game for a job.
Yeah, and you're starting to see that a lot more in the NFL now. Younger coaches coming in. I think the oldest head coach is Pete Carroll now at 63 years old, which I mean he's old.
I think
Bruce Arians now is back.
Yeah.
Just recently signed today.
But BA even has a little bit of a new school mentality.
But I would argue as well that Pete Carroll and Bruce Arians are two of the youngest feeling guys in the NFL with the way they act with their players and the way they do all of that. And if you want to look into, I mean, the 3 of the 4 youngest coaches in the NFL are in the NFC West now.
Yep.
Sean McVay, 32, and Kyle Shanahan and Kliff Kingsbury are 39.
Yep.
And that's just the route that the NFL is going. It's going offensive minded. It's going pass happy. You see it with Patrick Mahomes throwing 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And that's one of the main reasons I think Kliff Kingsbury was such a hot candidate in this offseason.
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes' success, and you look at Kliff Kingsbury made him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, being real about it, you can't sleep, man, so watching you. Oh, okay. What's up, Tyler? How you doing, man? So I'm sorry you can't sleep, but I mean, obviously maybe we can get you to be an Arizona Cardinals fan if you aren't already.
Or my sultry voice will put you to sleep, Tyler.
So, but I mean, like we were talking about, so now let's jump into Kliff Kingsbury a little bit. So, I mean, he obviously wasn't the most successful coach in college. He finished with a record of 35-40 as a head coach.
And so the reason, at least from what I've seen and what I've read, I mean, I've been a fan of Kliff Kingsbury since his offensive coordinating days at Houston. He made Case Keenum 2 years in a row the leading passer in college football. Case Keenum.
Yeah.
You look at Case Keenum now, he's not doing too well. I mean, he had a great year in Minnesota.
One good year.
But he went to the Broncos. He's nothing special, I wouldn't say. And Kliff Kingsbury got the most out of him. Yeah. Kliff Kingsbury was named the offensive coordinator of the year in 2011 with Houston. He moved to A&M. He made Johnny Manziel. He coached him up. It wasn't Kevin Sumlin. You see him at U of A doing nothing with Khalil Tate.
Yeah, that's true.
It was Kliff Kingsbury. And Johnny Manziel has said as much. He coached Baker Mayfield at Texas Tech and led him to 5 wins. And then Baker Mayfield got hurt and transferred to Oklahoma, which I don't blame him for that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Oklahoma, you've got the chance to do phenomenal things there. So I don't blame Baker at all.
Yeah, you can't blame Baker, but when you just look at the track record of quarterbacks from Kliff Kingsbury.
Patrick Mahomes. So you move on to Patrick Mahomes.
They all say Bill Belichick has a coaching tree and Sean McVay has his coaching tree. This is Kliff Kingsbury's quarterback tree.
Yeah.
You look at everyone that he's touched and everyone that he's influenced, they've been successful in the NFL to some modicum.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then, I mean, we talked about it, just together. And, I mean, guys, Kliff Kingsbury is somebody that has had, during his head coaching tenure, he has had a top 16 offense in the nation.
For all 6 years.
All 6 years as a head coach. All 6 years. That's an impressive feat in the modern day. That's something that not a lot of people can do. And then in the last year, he had the number 1 offense. And then I think it was the 2 previous years, he had a top 10 offense. But we could talk about it, a little bit. The fact that it's Texas Tech. And at the end of the day,
it's still Power 5. It's Big 12 football.
Yes, it's Big 12 football.
And you might argue they're not the biggest. They're not the best. It's kind of, to relate it to anyone that's on the West Coast, if you're a Pac-12 fan, it's like you're the coach of Cal at that point. It's that kind of degree. It's still a big school, not the biggest, but you have head coaching experience, and I think that's important.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that right there, him coaching at those top levels. And yes, it was at Texas Tech, a team that always had an awesome offense, but literally their games were always 45-49, 53, just nothing but high scoring games, which when we look back at what was a failure of Steve Wilkes, our offense could never get out of first gear.
And I think that was the main issue with Steve Wilks was his inability to adapt to an offense that needed creativity. Josh Rosen, he can't be bored.
Yeah.
Josh Rosen's not the kind of guy who's wants to run the ball on first, second down and then make a 5-yard slant route pass. That's not him. And that's where Kliff Kingsbury is the exact opposite. Kliff Kingsbury is known for, in Texas Tech, he never had a tight end. He had about 12 wide receivers on his roster at all times. And he would run 5 wideout sets. Like, I don't know the exact number, but a lot of the time if you watch his games.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's bringing that to the NFL because I don't think that works in the NFL. With like an air raid offense, no tight ends, like not really running the ball too much. But that's something that Josh Rosen's going to, I think, thrive with, is the fact that he can now look to the entire field. There were reports that Mike McCoy was literally halving the field and saying you can only look to one side of it.
Yeah, and that'll get a kid bored.
And especially a kid as smart as Josh Rosen, who, the main issues with him coming out was that he asked too many questions, that he cared too much about learning the playbook, and that he wanted to know why he was doing things. He wanted to know why he was supposed to throw that route. And that's where Kliff Kingsbury, I think, is going to be able to explain it to him. And it's one of these things where maybe they're so alike that they might not mesh.
Yeah, that's possible too.
And we have to understand that Kliff Kingsbury, we're very hyped up about him in Arizona, but he does have his own shortcomings.
Yeah.
When you think about it, he couldn't build a defense at Texas Tech for 6 years.
Yeah.
His record was bad, and that was because when he was 33 years old, he was given the job there as a head coach. And he admitted he hired all of his buddies. He got all of his friends in and said, hey, let's do this, and they were having fun, but they weren't really qualified for the job. And so he had to learn on the fly. And I think the last year he was there was the worst defense in the country almost.
Well, I'm sure that they probably had the best offense and the worst defense, and defense wins championships, as is proof with Alabama.
You don't even have to have the best defense. You need to have a good defense.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we really need to see, and this is where the interesting stuff comes, is the staff that he's going to build.
Yeah,
because that was the main issue with Steve Wilks, is his staff was terrible. Ray Brown as an offensive line coach, everyone in the NFL knew that was a bad choice. Mike McCoy, he got fired 8 games into the season the year before he got to us and got fired 4 games in. These are just things you can't have happen.
Yeah, you can't do that in the modern day NFL. Like you can't actually have you can't have a guy bring in all of his buddies. And I think that having Steve Keim, I think it will make a difference, because Steve did see what Bruce Arians did. And Bruce Arians did do it his way. But we also saw what happens when you bring in experience into a team. And I think that that's something that Kliff is going to have to manage. He's going to have to manage bringing in certain people to be the guys.
But I'm not sure how much control he's going to have over his staff. If Steve Keim is going to say, now let us build your staff for you, or if Kliff Kingsbury came in and said, I want these guys, and we just said, go for it. Because there's guys out there who want to coach. And the most intriguing option to me for defensive coordinator is Marvin Lewis right now. He's been the head coach for 16 years in Cincinnati, or 17 maybe.
It's been a long time.
He's been there forever.
Yeah.
He arguably coached the best defense in history in the 2000 Ravens. That was his defense. He built that from the ground up. And that's the head coaching experience that I think Kliff Kingsbury would be able to thrive from. He would basically be a mentor.
Yeah.
He'd be a mentor to him. If Kliff Kingsbury had an issue or had a question, he could come to Marvin Lewis and ask him. And that's why I'm saying I don't know how much autonomy he's going to have over building his staff. And I don't know if he should.
Well, let me ask you this, though. You think about bringing in somebody with that much experience that literally did just get let go from his team, that he's been there for forever. You could also make the argument that he's been there for about 6-7 seasons too long as well.
I would agree that he's been there for far too long. I've been saying every single year when Black Monday rolls around and coaches get fired, where's Marvin? Now they had some down years, some up years.
Your connection isn't stable. Oh, we're all good.
All right.
Still going.
Sorry, there was an internet issue. But you could argue that he was there too long, but still he always had a great defense in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Cincinnati was always top 10, I think. And when you're trying to model yourself after the Rams in a way, that's what everyone is comparing us to, Sean McVay. And Sean McVay, when he got there, they said, you're taking Wade Phillips. That's your defensive coordinator.
Mm.
Wade Phillips is a guy that had been a head coach for a very long time. And Sean McVay doesn't touch the defense. He tells Wade, you do you. I'm going to do me. And if we have issues, then we'll talk about it. And I think that's what you need to do. And you can't let Kliff Kingsbury say, well, I want to bring in my buddy to run the defense.
Yeah.
That didn't work at Texas Tech.
I mean, so let me ask you this, because you do know a lot more about Kliff Kingsbury than me, because I am not the biggest, and I'm not the biggest college football fan. I'm a big NFL fan. So knowing more about Kliff Kingsbury, what can you tell the audience of people that are going to be watching this about Kliff Kingsbury? What are the positives, and what is he going to bring to this team that is going to make us excited to watch the Arizona Cardinals? Well, like, great example. I know for a fact that a lot of my audience are not going to be NFL fans. What about Kliff Kingsbury could make them an NFL fan?
Kliff Kingsbury is going to give you highlight reel offense. So all the stuff you see, like when it's SportsCenter top 10, we're going to be on that every week. There's going to be 70-yard passes all the time. Patrick Mahomes right now is always on his top 10 plays because he's always throwing 70-yard bombs. That's going to be Rosen next year. And granted, I'm a Rosen fan. I'm biased. I've always liked them. That's if Rosen works out. If that doesn't happen, then there's bigger fish to fry than Kliff Kingsbury working out or not.
Yeah.
But Kliff Kingsbury is going to bring offense. It's going to be spicy, muy caliente offense.
Yeah.
And that's what you can look forward to when you think about, like, when I got in, because I know most of your fans are, and sorry, I call it soccer, guys. I'm American. When I first got into soccer, it was 2013, and I was watching my buddy play FIFA, and he was playing as Dortmund. And I started getting into it from that. And I became a fan of Jurgen Klopp, and not necessarily Dortmund as much, because the way he made his offense work. He puts all guys up there, and it's just flying around. Guys are trying to score all the time, and that's Kliff Kingsbury's offense.
Gotcha.
So you could almost argue he's the NFL's version of Jurgen Klopp in the sense that he's going to go balls to the wall, offense nonstop, and he's going to make it exciting.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that we do know. What's up, Clay? How you doing, man? I hope you're enjoying a little bit of NFL talk here. We're streaming at a normal time for us Americans. Unless you're on the East Coast, which is a totally different story.
Then you don't count.
Yes, you do not count. It's true. West Coast is the only coast. but so, like, I mean, I from what the research I've done about Kliff Kingsbury, and once again thinking about the shortcomings from where Steve Wilkes was, I look at what Kliff Kingsbury is going to bring, and yeah, he might not have this, defensive prowess. He might not have the ability to know everything about defense, but you know what he's going to bring? He's going to bring like a designated offense. He's going to be bringing things that, like, one of the things that an interview that Patrick Mahomes did, which you guys have heard me talk about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes said about Kliff Kingsbury that he draws up new plays every week. Like, basically, there is no set playbook necessarily. There might be a set playbook.
It's always going to evolve.
Exactly. The playbook is always going to evolve. And it's something that in the modern era of the NFL, I feel like you need, because I feel like we're seeing that with Sean McVay and the St. Louis Rams and what their offenses, or the Los Angeles Rams are always going to be the St. Louis Rams to me, guys. The Los Angeles Rams are doing with their offense is like it's evolving every week. And that's the reason why teams are having a hard time figuring them out.
And you see that with the Rams. You see it with the Chiefs. I mean, you've seen it almost for the entirety of Sean Payton's career with the Saints. You think about, just look at the teams that are in the playoffs right now. They're almost all offensive guys coaching as the head coaches. Matt Nagy. You got Sean McVay. You've got Sean Payton. You've got Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett still. Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
These are all, most of them, former quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's true too.
And so they understand air raid offense. They understand pass happy offense, which is the new trend in the NFL, which I think some people don't like it. Some people like the ground and pound Raven style, like just grind you out for 60 minutes. And some people prefer.
Well, literally, as you say that, I mean, Clay Munson says it's interesting to see how the NFL has evolved over the last 10 years. It used to be big shutdown defenses, and now it's highlight reel offenses.
And that's exactly it. That's why Kliff Kingsbury was, and most people are going to say, well, he didn't have success at Texas Tech. That doesn't matter. It's his mind.
Yeah.
The Rams, Sean McVay tried to get him on the staff this postseason.
Yeah.
Tried to hire him as an offensive consultant, quote unquote, to basically just teach them and show them new things to do in this playoffs that are going to throw everybody off. The new style is that it's new plays every week. It's big plays. It's Bruce Arians. It's the no risk it, no biscuit style offense all the time now.
Yeah.
Bruce Arians will draw up 3 plays. Now it's almost every play you call, there's going to be a guy streaking down the field.
Yeah, and it's something that what's going to be really interesting because the Arizona Cardinals, in my opinion, actually did have probably the most attractive hire because we actually do have a ready-made defense. Our defense hasn't changed that much from being one of the top 10 defenses in the NFL to this last year not being able to stop anybody. Like, we don't have a big change from that defense of 2 years ago.
And I would say that, yes, but also you have to look at the fact that that defense is here and they couldn't perform. And I don't know if that's on Steve Wilks. I don't know if that's that they quit on him. And I don't know if that's some guys lost a step. You look at Antoine Bethea and Trey Boston, they're both past their prime.
Yeah,
there's no arguing
true.
that.
That's true.
And you look at, like, we have guys in the middle that apparently can't stop the run on a 4-3.
Yeah.
And that's what concerns me. And I don't know if that's because they were so used to the Todd Bowles, James Bettcher style where it's go get yours, where it's Kim Dichie was, I mean, he was supposed to be Aaron Donald in the sense that he's going for sacks, not to stop the run. Now, Aaron Donald can do both because he's a freak.
Yes.
But that's when you have to think that, okay, maybe our coordinators were better than the defense, let us know. And they were good at hiding our flaws. And that's what a good coach is supposed to do.
Yeah.
You're supposed to hide your flaws, but it makes you just wonder, is our defense as good as we think it is? Because the nation, for some reason or another, seems to think it's not that good.
I mean, and this is where my argument would be, because like I said, the defense really didn't change that much, other than the fact that it went from a 34 to a 43. That was the biggest change. And maybe, well, it also, did go from a man system to a zone system. And I think that those changes, because you saw Patrick Peterson didn't have the greatest of years this last year, despite the fact that he still had a Pro Bowl year. He didn't have a year that we think of a Patrick Peterson year.
And I think that is indicative of the zone defense coming in. I think that might be Steve Wilks is doing. He still was a Pro Bowler.
Yes, was still a Pro Bowler. I think it was more on reputation. Though.
Not all pro. And you also have to wonder, Clay just asked right now, is Fitz going to stay?
That's a big question.
I think that's one of the most important things about our offseason. I'll give you some hope and say that I think he's going to.
I do too.
I think that he's too competitive to go out on a 3-13 year. I think that, and also he can still set some records. He can still be number 2 all-time receiving.
Yes.
He can pass Tony Gonzalez, which I think it might not be a big deal to him, but I think it is. I think that somewhere in him, he wants that. And he says it's not a big deal, but
I think that Larry will come back year after year to until he literally can't do it anymore, because we still saw that when the offense did have things to do, Larry was still effective in that offense. And that's where I think that having the number 1 overall pick, another reason why the Cardinals was one of the most attractive head coaching jobs, in my opinion, is once again, we didn't have that bad of a team. And somehow it went from an 8-8 team that was on a 3rd string quarterback to a 3-13 team with Sam Bradford originally leading it to Josh Rosen leading it, and still having David Johnson and Larry Fitzgerald here. Those are some changes, yes, but at the same time, they're not big enough changes to really dictate that we should be having that big of a drop-off.
I think that the offensive line is mainly to blame.
I agree.
One, I've never seen an offensive line ravaged by injuries like the Cardinals was this year.
In the past few years, in all honesty.
If you want to look at the past few years, yes, but this year was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen when it comes to injured offensive linemen, because it got to week 12 and the only guy that had started every single game was our rookie Mason Cole. And he started every game, and I mean, bless him for that.
Credit to him.
That's incredible. But when you consider outside of him, I think in our last week we had 2 fourth-string guys that we had gotten off of practice squads, and we had gotten 2 third-string guys starting.
Yeah.
We had multiple rookies across the offensive line. We had basically backups the entire way. And so you can't expect an offense to succeed when there is no continuity on the offensive line.
That's true.
When Josh Rosen can't count on anyone to block for him, when you're dealing with that kind of an issue, that's just something out of anyone's control. But I also think it is Steve Keim's fault for signing injury-prone guys. Justin Pugh has never been a healthy person over the entirety of his career.
That is true. I will say this, for the most part, though, it's only been missed like a game.
He's missed a game. It's been 4
2
games or less almost every year. But still, you have to understand that that's injury-prone.
That is injury-prone. You're correct.
When you look at DJ Humphries, injury-prone.
And in fairness, that's a draft pick.
That's a draft pick, but he still had those injury issues at Florida. He was still missing games due to weird ankle tweaks and things like that.
Which that also could be down to a mentality thing, too.
It's mentality, but also, to me, that's injury-prone. When people wanted to say Carson Palmer was injury-prone, that's incorrect to me. He had torn ACLs. He couldn't play through that. His injuries weren't play-throughable injuries, and every injury he had that he could play through, he did.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true.
DJ Humphries, Robert Kimdichie, they tweak a hamstring and they're out for 3 weeks rehabbing it. That's injury-prone to me. If you want to look at another sport in the Valley, the Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker. He has a back spasm. He's out for 3 weeks. He tweaks his knee. He's out for 3 weeks. He does something. He's gone.
Which that also could be down to the fact that the team isn't competitive.
It's a different sport, and I get that, but I'm just drawing comparisons here when you talk about injury-prone to me. And so when you get offensive linemen that have these histories that are basically saying they're going to miss games over some tiny little injuries, I don't like that.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think Steve Keim, he got a guy, Joe Barksdale, as a right tackle. He's not an injury-prone guy, just didn't want to be in San Diego anymore. We picked him up. He played well over the last 4 or 5 games that we had him.
Yeah. He
might be here next year. I think you need to address what's going on with the offensive line now.
Oh, I completely agree. And here's the thing. Another reason why the Arizona Cardinals head coaching job was one of the most attractive. We have $70 million in cap space to spend. Now, yes, some of that will be going back to Larry Fitzgerald if he comes back. It's almost guaranteed that, he's going to be commanding somewhere between $8 and $11 million a year.
And then you have to also you have to potentially re-sign Marcus Golden.
Yes, and I think that will be the most interesting thing about this offseason is with having the number 1 overall pick. We have the ability to go get what is Nick Bosa, who is somebody that a lot of people think is Joey Bosa, which any of you, if you are an NFL fan, you've heard the name Joey Bosa. Nick Bosa is supposed to be better. He is his younger brother, and he's supposed to be better than Joey. So I think it will depend on if we want to pay the money to bring back Marcus.
And I'll say this, leading up to today, I was saying trade the first pick, move back to 5 to 7, and then maybe even trade that again and move down to 10 to 15 somewhere. Just stock up on draft picks.
I agree too.
Now that we have Kliff Kingsbury, a part of me has changed and said, screw it, get Nick Bosa, let go of Marcus Golden, let him go get his money somewhere else and fix this offensive line. And you fix it, you get guys, you look at what the Rams did. They got Andrew Whitworth, who he was 33 when they signed him, but he's not an injury-prone guy at all. He's never missed games.
Yeah.
And he has been a revelation for them. He has been leading that offensive line since he has been there, and that's the kind of guy you need. DJ Humphries, I love him. He's hilarious. He's a good guy. I think you need to potentially need to replace him. You might need to move him to the right side. You might There's people saying we should draft Jonah Williams. I just watched him get his ass kicked for 60 minutes last night, and it was bad. And that shows me, because when you think about Alabama, okay, yeah, they have all the best players, but they're not necessarily going up against the best talent all year. Jonah Williams last night went up against Clelin Ferrell, who is arguably a top 15 pick as a defensive end. Got his ass kicked.
Yeah.
And that's my issue. I don't want rookie offensive linemen anymore. I want to know what I'm getting in an offensive lineman now.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that will feel that way as well about the Arizona Cardinals, because I think that we are at a point with the Arizona Cardinals where we need to consider the fact that, yeah, guess what? Larry Fitzgerald is getting up on the age. Like,
he's not getting up there. He's been
up there, but he's also still performing at a high level. We don't know how much longer he's going to be performing at a high level. They say your NFL career is a roller coaster,
and he's been sitting at the top. It broke down up there for a bit, and it's just waiting to crash down now.
Yeah.
And so we don't know when that's going to be. I could understand Cardinals fans arguing that we should draft a wide receiver.
Now, that's where the ultimate debate will come in. Can you trade back? Because here's what I was kind of almost thinking. We trade back with Oakland. Oakland are going to be wanting to have that top pass rusher.
Oakland or New York, whichever one wants a quarterback or Nick Bosa.
You could potentially get 2 first-round picks this year from Oakland for that pick.
You could take 4, and I think they're going to have 26, if I'm correct about the Bears I think it's 26 for the Bears.
But you could take that pick, and then you're also likely going to probably get a 3rd-round pick or something
I understand that you're going to get 4 and 26, and I do like that, because you could still get a pass rusher in Ed Oliver or Quinnen Williams. Or you could go get N'Keal Harry, who...
But here's the thing. You could argue that getting that pass rusher with that earlier pick, take that number 26 pick, trade up, or whatever it's going to be at, trade up, add another pick in to about like the mid-rounds of the first, you could still go get N'Keal Harry.
See, I think right now we're getting into more Madden talk.
That's true.
Like, we're getting into like things that just don't really happen in the NFL too often for reasons I'm not sure of. But if we could get 4 and 26, let's say, if they really want Nick Bosa, knowing that if they want him, that's the only place they're going to get him.
Yep.
So if that's what could happen, we're not going to move up from 26. But what you then need to decide is, are we shoring up the defensive line to let Marcus Golden go? Because by then, I think that we're already going to have our answers kind of laid out for us.
I agree.
Or do we get someone that Kliff Kingsbury is going to want? And that's going to be a guy like N'Keal Harry or Marquise Brown. Or, I mean, even DK Metcalf, who all 3 of which they're going to separate in the combine. That's the only way we're going to know who's truly number 1.
Yeah, that's true.
And being in the Valley, we've seen more than N'Keal Harry than anyone else. And he's NFL ready. And every single scout's going to say he is NFL ready, that he compares to Larry Fitzgerald.
Yes, he does.
And I don't know if that might not even necessarily be fair to draft him somewhere where you're going to be compared to Fitz, taking over for Fitz.
I mean, in fairness, so Fitz was a number 2 overall pick in his day.
And I think deservedly so. You could even argue the Cardinals could just take N'Keal Harry number 1.
If they can take whoever they want.
And say, screw it. We don't need to trade down. We're just going to get our guy and move on. But I'm more and more, ever since we've gotten Kliff Kingsbury, I am getting on the bandwagon of draft Nick Bosa, let Marcus Golden walk, and use that money and sign another wide receiver. Go get one. There's guys that Golden Tate's going to be a free agent. You have plenty of guys out there that are talented football players that you know are good, that you're not taking a risk on. You get offensive linemen through free agency, and there you go. Yeah. And all Kliff Kingsbury has to worry about offseason is his perfectly coiffed hair and a 6-pack. But
yeah, well, it's an 8-pack with Dick Root. So
yeah.
Like, if you guys want to see a picture, I will tweet out a picture of our new head coach. He is an attractive man. Very, very attractive.
Very tasty.
Yes. So, I mean, let's kind of get back onto the whole Kliff Kingsbury talk. So, Kliff Kingsbury, there's a lot of positives about him in terms of the offensive sense, but he also does have his downfalls. What do you think is the thing that could wind up ruining his head coaching tenure for the Arizona Cardinals?
This is something you're not going to hear from anywhere else. This is something that I've been thinking, and I think it's going to be ego. And it's a very tricky line to walk. Everyone's always said that Kliff Kingsbury is a genius, that he's a guru. And I don't know if that's going to come with him saying it's my way or the highway, or if it's going to be him working with people. If it's going to be him explaining to Josh Rosen what's going on and him working with Rosen, because him and Rosen, if they can mesh, they both have the same kind of attitude and the same kind of mind towards football when it's innovating, when it's creating, when it's making new things happen, when it's using the whole field. And I don't know if it's going to be his ego that gets in the way of saying, I know the best way to do it, or if it's going to be the other sorry, my phone went off and I lost my train of thought.
You're talking about the ego.
Yeah, the other issue could be he can't build a staff.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone's going to say. Everyone's going to go that route. I think it might be he might think he's too hot for his own britches.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, I think that is probably going to be where he could potentially have a downfall, is he could potentially wind up saying, hey, it's my way or the highway. I want to build my staff. I want to have exactly who I want. And, at the end of the day, if he brings in the wrong hires.
And that was his downfall at Texas Tech.
Yes. And so, obviously you learn as you go.
And he had to learn on the fly at Tech. And that's where the part of me that I love Kliff Kingsbury. He had to learn on the job.
Yep.
And so he had a bad hand dealt to him, and he dealt with it. He made it work, and arguably had the best offense in college football for 6 years straight. And that's where my fear comes in. I think a lot about this kind of stuff is you see it happen in young head coaches where they kind of burn out of a place quick. Adam Gase did it.
Yeah.
Adam Gase got so egotistical that there was a report that he yelled at the owner and said the owner had just suggested hiring someone, and Adam Gase told him to F off, and he knows more about football than he does, and his wife knows more about football than he does.
Yeah, see, and you don't want to have that,
and
obviously.
You can't have that, and all signs point to Kliff Kingsbury not being that guy, but no one thought Adam Gase was that guy.
That's true.
And when you start handing a guy power, and when you start comparing him to people, when you start saying, oh, he's a genius, he's a guru, he knows this, he knows that, and then he's going to start thinking, well, I know more than everyone else.
I will say from the early videos I've seen of him, it doesn't appear to me that he has, he seems kind of more mellow than even what I thought he would be. I've seen the one quick little video they did of him at the Cardinals training facility, and he kind of just was talking like this, and he was saying he's excited to be with the Cardinals.
But also, if someone just stuck a phone in your face and said, "Hey, say hi to your new fan base," 10 seconds, there you go. You're not going to know what to say.
That's fair. That's fair. But he does seem very much so laid back, which I agree with you, because like you said, a young guy. I come up to you every single day for the next 10 years. I'm like, Aaron, you're such a genius. You're going to be out here doing great things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're eventually that's going to get into your head of well,
that's the issue.
Yeah.
And he's young.
He's a young guy. And I also think that also might be one of his, funny enough, while that might be his biggest downfall, it also might be his biggest strength.
Yeah.
Because I think that he's going to connect with these players on a level that a lot of people aren't going to understand.
Yeah. And this is where you have to look at it from Steve Keim's perspective as well. And I don't know if Steve Keim is on thin ice. I don't know if Steve Keim has 100% job security, because if you think about it, if Steve Keim's on thin ice, wouldn't you hire a boring pick like Jim Caldwell, Mike McCarthy, someone that's done it before, someone that's won in the NFL, and say, okay, well, you know what you're doing, just build your staff and win me some football games? Or are you going to take that wild Bryce Harper fucking hit it up to the moon home run swing right now? That's what I think Kliff Kingsbury is. Right now we connected with the ball. And we're on that uppercut swing. And you don't know if that thing's going to go 1,000 feet in the air and straight back down, or you don't know if it's going to be 30 rows back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how it's all going to work out with him, because, like we just talked about, you got number 1 overall pick, you have $70 million cap space. You're going to see what he's going to want to build. And thinking about the potential, because like you said, Marvin Lewis, somebody who just got finished coaching, for the Bengals, that is a brilliant defensive mind. You still do have, you've got young people like Adam Gase out there that could potentially be brought in to be coordinators. You've got people out there that could be brought in.
Well, Adam Gase is going to be a head coach somewhere. That's going to happen. It's going to be, my guess is New York. It's probably going to be the Jets. But if you have to look at it from, I'd trust Kliff Kingsbury with his offense.
I completely agree.
I'd say you can bring in who you want. These are the list of guys you're going to interview for defense. This is your list of defensive coordinator guys you're interviewing, and they're going to bring in their guys.
Gotcha.
But, that's what I would do. I don't know how much they trust Kliff Kingsbury to build a staff. I know he has connection to the NFL. He was a backup quarterback for, I think, 6 years in the NFL, and then he went to the Canadian Football League. He was Tom Brady's backup. He worked with Bill Belichick.
Yeah, he knows what a great coach looks like.
He knows what a great coach looks like. He has connections all throughout the NFL when you think about it that way. But when you look at a guy like, one of my dark horse candidates was Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator from the Bears, to be our head coach. And I know people didn't want to go defensive twice in a row, but you look at him almost like Bruce Arians, where he's 63 years old. He's never been a head coach, but you think about the contact list that guy has.
Yeah.
That could be his staff. And that's where you start thinking, okay, well, who does Kliff Kingsbury really know in the NFL? Who is he going to bring in? And I think that's where you're going to see a lot of young guys that are going to be coaching their first year in the NFL on the offensive side of the ball. But I think you look at the list of names of guys that want to get back into the NFL: Chuck Pagano, Greg Schiano, Marvin Lewis. They all want to still coach.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them are going to be head coaches, but those are three defensive guys that are defensive geniuses in my mind.
Yeah.
That you could bring in here and just say, make the defense work and handle it. That's it. And
I think that with this, we obviously we'll be talking a lot more about the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to definitely do draft build up. I'm going to make sure to get you back in here to start doing some draft build up. I think we even talked about the potential of throwing the draft on in the background and doing a live draft party on here as well. So, we've got loads of time to see.
Yeah, if you guys want to see me get belligerent and talk about college football players, let's do a draft party. Tweet at Andrew, tweet at me. Let us know if you want that to happen, because it'll be spicy. It'll be tasty.
Yeah, and we'll have a lot of fun with it. As you can tell, Aaron and I, being brothers, number one, we're friends first, then we're also brothers. So, you could see the free-flowing conversation we just have about what's going on with our team. And I was asked earlier today, if I had to choose between the Arizona Cardinals or Manchester United, who would I choose? It's going to be the Cardinals. I said that honestly because at the end of the day, I'm here in Arizona. I'm a season ticket holder.
And you got a Cardinals tattoo, so that'd be kind of awkward.
I must say, I got this. Granted, I'm going to be getting a Manchester United tattoo, but still. This traitor, exactly. But I'm excited to see what Kliff Kingsbury is going to bring. He obviously has his presser tomorrow. We'll see. We're going to see what he's going to say. We're going to see if, I think that we will know a lot more tomorrow. We're just giving kind of more instant reaction to what is a kind of, in a sense, a fresh hire, something we haven't seen here during our tenure as the Arizona Cardinals.
And if you want to think about that on that perspective as well, we have always been the last team to hire someone.
Always.
Well, yeah, Wisenhunt, Bruce Arians, and Steve Wilkes, all last-minute hires, all the last guys off the block. And this year, we're technically the first team to hire a head coach. Matt LaFleur has agreed to a contract in Green Bay, but they have not announced it. They haven't made it official.
Same with BA in Tampa.
So when you think about it, we are the first team. We are getting ahead of the curve. We are trying to get our staff before it gets filled out by other people with better contact lists than Kliff Kingsbury has. We're trying to get these guys in here.
Yep.
And so I think it's very important. It's very important to understand as well that these are just opinions. That we don't know what's going to happen. There's no way to know. When you think about, if you go look in 2016, everyone said the Eagles made the worst hire with Doug Peterson.
It's very true.
But guys got signed like Chip Kelly. Basically, every guy that was hired in 2016 is gone now. And Doug Peterson's the only one that's still there, and he won a Super Bowl.
And in his first year, right?
So you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just, how is he going to fill his staff out, and how is it going to shake out at this point? Because if you're trying to follow the model of getting the young guy and making a solid defense, then it really is important to figure out who his staff is going to be.
And do it quick.
And when that happens, I'll be glad to do another show with you and talk about who that's going to be and what that's going to mean for the future of the Cardinals. Because if you bring in a guy like Marvin Lewis, you have to assume we're going back to a 3-4.
Yeah.
And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be...
in my opinion, I mean, we'll get into this more later because I think we do need to talk about that. But the fact that Steve Wilks came in, tried to change the wheel, tried to change everything about what the team's definition, its core was at that moment. He came in and tried to change everything about that. I think we need to get back to that core of what we were for 5 years under BA, of a 3-4 defense that literally was top 10 every year as a defense, and then guaranteed top 5 every year as a rush defense.
Yeah, and I think if you are a Cardinals fan watching this, it's very important to say that we can't look at the past. Yeah, we won 50 games in 5 years, but this is not Bruce Arians now.
No.
And I don't think you should have any ill feelings towards Bruce Arians going to Tampa Bay, but it's important to understand that we are moving forward at this point, and that we can't keep saying, well, Bruce Arians did this and Bruce Arians did that. We're playing Tampa in Tampa this year.
Yep. That's
happening. Whether we want that to or not, we're going to go see Bruce. And either we're going to kick his ass or he's going to kick ours. Tampa, baby. So,
it's going to be this really is going to be a very fun year in the NFL. We're going to see some new things. I mean, I think we actually are going to see, I think at least one more kind of, in a sense, unknown kind of head coaching here. And if you really want to get real about it, Kliff Kingsbury is kind of an unknown kind of guy because he hasn't had an NFL head coaching job. He's only had a college football head coaching job. And it's not like it was at an LSU, Alabama, Oklahoma, any of the big jobs. It was at Texas Tech.
And I mean, most of the time I would say unknown is almost better in a way because you don't come in with expectation at all. You look at what Matt Nagy did with the Bears. We have a dear friend of ours who's a Bears fan, and he hated the hiring of Matt Nagy. He thought it was a horrible idea, and now
he did. He really did.
Now they are one of. I mean, I had them as my Super Bowl pick. It was Bears Patriots for me. That's what I was going with, and
I was shocked that they lost. I really was.
Cody Parkey blowing that kick. What's up?
But he also did score 9 of their 15 points.
And he did do that, but I mean, you just look at that kind of unknown coaching style and unknown. They don't really come in with too many expectations. Actually, I think Kliff Kingsbury is he's not necessarily unknown. I think this is actually one of the biggest splashes you're going to see. This is everyone's talking.
It's not going to be the boring pick. That's for sure.
No, the thing is no one knows what to expect right now, and I think that's why it's exciting to all of us.
Yeah, because like you said in just a few seconds ago, we're the first one out the gates for the first time. Since I've been an Arizona Cardinals fan. We've obviously been through many head coaches during my time as a Cardinals fan. We went from McInnes. I can never remember his first name.
Dennis Green
and then Dennis Green, and then we went to Ken Wisenhunt.
I mean, if you want to get back into it, Buddy Ryan.
Yeah, going back to Buddy Ryan. Yeah, because I think we went Ryan, McInnes, Green.
Yeah,
Wisenhunt. Yeah, BA, and now we're on
Wisenhunt. If you're listening, you still suck, and I hate you.
It's true. I still do hate you as well. You might have gotten us close to a Super Bowl, but that was because of Kurt Warner, not because of you.
And it was Dennis Green's team, not yours. I hate you, Ken Wisenhunt. Anyways,
back to normal things. But we'll go ahead and we'll wrap this up because, like you said, there's still so much to be determined. But, I mean, in case you guys can't tell, we're excited about this Kliff Kingsbury hire. It's something to get excited about. He's a young guy. He's going to bring in a fresh mentality. He's going to bring in new ideas. You're going to see something from this head coach that isn't going to be the norm. You're going to see this guy come in. I think you might see, maybe not to the extent that it was in college. I think we're going to see a little bit of that air raid offense. I think it's going to be a lot like Sean McVay, who Sean McVay is setting trends right now of 3 wide receivers, 1 running back, 1 tight end, and for 70% of his time.
I'll make a bet with anyone right now that we're going to have 7 wide receivers on our roster next year.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about because right now
we have 5.
We not only do we have 5, but we have 1 good one rookie that had a good year and got hurt unfortunately,
and then
the rest are just I don't know, and none of them helped Josh Rosen this year. None of them helped Josh Rosen.
And I'll bet I'm going to say we're going to have 2 tight ends next year. One's going to be a blocking guy, and the other one's going to be Ricky Seals-Jones.
Yep, because I think we're going to see a lot of Ricky Seals-Jones next year.
You're going to see him lining out wide. You're not going to see him inside blocking.
We're going to see him more like Jimmy Graham.
We're going to see a Jimmy Graham style of Ricky Seals-Jones, is what we've been needing out of him.
Yes.
And so these are my predictions for what he's going to be doing. We're not going to have a fullback, obviously. That's done.
Yeah, I think that Derek Coleman will be gone.
You're going to see David Johnson get back to what he was. You're going to see him running the ball a lot better. You're going to see him lining out wide a lot more.
Which, I mean, in fairness to David, I think that bringing in the fullback was the worst thing that could have happened.
I think it was detrimental to his.
Because I think that he got too focused in on trying to follow the fullback block.
And not trying to make his cuts. And also the offensive line is to blame as well for that.
Yes.
But that's also what you're going to see. You're going to see a new offensive line. I'm betting we're going to see 3 new faces on that offensive line next year.
Guaranteed.
And defensively, it just depends who we're signing as that defensive coordinator, and I'll be talking about that all day.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll get back to that real soon because it's all the hires will be made here. I can almost guarantee within the week, if not the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, guys, we're gonna wrap it up there. Again, this is my brother Aaron. In case you couldn't tell, we're related. Red hair. Kind of hard not to tell, but I mean. Guys, it was awesome to have my brother here live with me. We're gonna do a lot more, and it's something that I told you guys to start the year. This is my channel. I'm gonna talk about the things that I love. One of the things that I love, and it's something that I made the mistake of. Guess what? End of the day, while I love the NFL, I love the Arizona Cardinals more. I could talk about the Arizona Cardinals all day, and I'll be making sure that my brother is going to be getting a lot more involved with me because we could talk about the Arizona Cardinals all day long and how things are going to be going. And we are both excited to see what Kliff Kingsbury is going to bring to this team because I believe at the end of the day, you are going to see a brand new Arizona Cardinals offense and a brand new Arizona Cardinals team. A lot of the old pieces are coming back. But we're going to see something totally different from this last year. So, guys, Aaron, thank you for joining me, man. First ever live guest.
Yeah. Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Mourinho out. I know you all like that.
Yes. Hashtag Mourinho out. It's already happened, though. So we got this big, sexy man right here. Right there.
I mean, he looks like Andy Serkis, the guy that plays golf.
Yeah, I know he does. But at the same time, he's the babyface assassin. He's the babyface assassin. But guys, Aaron will probably be joining me for a Premier League preview and review at some point in time soon.
Yeah, when Liverpool wins the league.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But guys, just genuinely thank you for joining us today. I hope that whenever you're watching this, you could be sure to drop your thoughts and comments below because we want to know what you think about the Kliff Kingsbury hire. You know, if you've got knowledge about who Kliff Kingsbury is, we want to hear from you. We want to know what you know because at the end of the day, that's what this channel is all about. It's all about hearing fan opinion, hearing opinion from people, and we want to know what your thoughts are. So, guys, thank you for joining us. I hope you have a good night, a good day, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. Keep doing you guys because guess what? I love you, and you guys are awesome. Have a good night.